And today I'm interviewing Julie, who is the owner and founder of the Byron Food Doctor. So you can find out more about that in the caption, etc. But we're going to be hearing from her and finding out all kinds of good things. So thanks for joining me, and let's get stuck in. So firstly, Julie, hi, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm really well. Thank you, Kylie. How are you?
Very well, thanks. It's beautiful to see you in this glorious season of spring. Isn't it a beautiful time of year?
It's amazing. Every day I go outside and I see new flowers popping open and new things happening in the garden. It's beautiful.
I thought in your line of business that this would be a beautiful time for you, and you know, new beginnings and new sproutings and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Are you based directly in Byron Bay, Julie?
I'm just outside, just down the beach in Niagara on the beautiful, in the beautiful rainforest here, just beside the beach.
Gorgeous. Just what a beautiful spot. I love Niagara. That's a really, really special place to be. Lucky you, Julie. So my first question to you would be, tell us how you got into business and how long have you been doing it?
Oh, how did I get into it? Well, I studied to become an Ayurvedic professional, and I found my unique calling. I was actually traveling at the time and I came across Ayurveda and it kind of called me. And when I came home, I looked up a course and I started studying. And now I've found my unique calling, which is to be not just a professional in medicine and lifestyle, but as a food specialist.
Beautiful.
So, that's my thing, and that's how I got started.
I think that your business name is a really, really clever one, with the Byron Food Doctor.
Yeah, thank you.
It tells what you do and where you are, and you know, which is very clever on many, many, many reasons. So can you give me an example of who would come and see you, and how do they connect with you, and what do you do for them? Just give me one example of one type of client, for example.
Okay, so one type of client that I would see would probably be someone who's been everywhere and to the doctors and other professionals, and they might have like an immune disorder. And they're really ready to do something different. And so what I do is I have a chat to them, and then I look at very, very specific and targeted things for that individual that will help them. So, there's a whole arsenal, so shall we say, of medicines and different things. But at the end of the day, the person needs to do the work. So I guide them to move forward maybe a little more quickly with very specific and targeted things that they need to do.
Magic. And so what's something interesting about what you do that people wouldn't know about until they see you?
They wouldn't know about.
I think a lot of people, for example, don't realize that food is medicine.
Yeah. Well, that's the uniqueness of what I do. I would love to have it out very soon. I'm working on the front cover at the moment, but my book gives the foundations of food as medicine, and it equips those foundations, but then it goes on to be something very multinational and something very personal and very loving and caring, because it's got a very homely based feel, like things that you might have learnt from your mum or your grandma. I've put an Ayurvedic spin on them, but they're still relatable because some of them are recipes you might have learnt already, but they may need to be adjusted for your particular problem. So, yeah.
Gosh, that sounds amazing. How long have you been working on it?
The first book, maybe 18 months. I'm up to the front cover now and editing the recipes, and I'm three quarters of the way through the second book.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that the second one will be a much shorter duration to get out than the first.
I'm sure you get on a roll, really. I imagine it's like lots of things that the first one's always the hardest.
It is. It really is. Yeah, just pulling it together. And then you know how to pull the next one together much faster because you learn from your little mistakes.
And has it been hard finding time to do that as well as your business, or has lockdown, for example, helped with that?
Yeah, it has. I'm managing a house and I have interpersonal relationships like we all do. So, yeah, I've had to allocate time for all the various hats I've had to wear, as many women do, and we do our best and we're gentle on ourselves because we know just how hard that can be. So
yes, absolutely.
It's all good.
And how will people be able to find your book once it's out?
I'm hoping to get it out on Amazon. Ideally, I'd like to have it out in a hardcover book locally, and that's another process. So whatever's the fastest route first, get it out there, and then when I've got the right things behind me, I can get the hardcover out, because some people like hardcover, we're all different. So
yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, that's very exciting. Good on you.
Yeah.
So I'd really love to know, where do you get the inspiration to do what you do, or even to get started with Ayurvedic in the first place? What inspired you to do that?
So the inspiration from my book, do you mean the recipes, or Ayurveda?
For what you do in terms of your whole career of being the Byron Food Doctor.
Yeah, so basically it's a really simple process for me. I just observe what people are eating, and then from all of my experience and knowledge and the wisdom I've acquired from that as well, I'm able to put together specific things for people very quickly, just by observing, and then an inspiration comes in and then I develop, and it just happens. So yeah, it happens quite easily, that part. It's then the putting together and all the admin and logistics and all of that stuff that needs to come afterwards. So yeah, Ayurveda inspired me to modify existing things. So I was born in the 70s. Many of us women were born in the 70s, maybe perhaps the 80s, or even earlier than the 70s. And it's almost learning to walk again, like learn how to cook again. We've got all these skills already behind us. We've developed ourselves, or from mum, or from wherever it came from, grandma, and I'm helping us to start our own new journey. So that's my kind of major inspiration.
It really is fascinating, and I completely hear what you're saying about we have to relearn everything, because I'm also like you, born in the 70s, and so it was all about low fat, and it was all about replacing the sugar with diet, whatever, anything with the word diet on it was a good product, for example, which of course now we know no, that's definitely not good. And the low fat whatever is generally they've taken out the goodness. So it's quite fascinating. But also I think that we were at the generation of the microwave being introduced, for example. I remember my mum going off to microwave classes and learning how to cook a whole roast in the microwave, and you cook it in a plastic bag. So it's a funny thing, isn't it, that we went from, the way our grandmothers would have cooked to then moving on to how we could save more time with things like microwaving whole roast dinners.
Yeah.
Then bringing it back again to wanting to grow our own food and, do a better job of what we're putting on the table, or what we're putting in the
I think everyone that's our mothers and our grandmothers who all came before us, they did their very best, and they loved and they cared for us in the very best way that they could. And yeah, this is about us, in a sense, growing up now and developing something that's ours, taking those good bits and weaving and integrating those in. And yeah, I'm just bringing something unique and new, adding to what's come before me.
Absolutely.
With an Ayurvedic spin, using the spices for digestion and those kinds of things. So it's not necessarily Indian cooking. Yes, those foundational things are in there, but they're woven in to multinational recipes so that we can all be included.
And what drew you to Ayurveda in the first place?
So I went on a personal rest, traveling. And I just kept coming across it, and it kept resonating with me. So it called me to sort of look more into it. It made sense to me. I'd studied science and immunology and genetics and all sorts of things in the past. And when I was traveling, I kept coming across it, and it just fascinated me. And then when I started studying it, just light bulb, everything making sense. It just made sense to me on a very deep level. So, and combining it with everything else in the background, that logic and science and things like that. Ayurveda also has all of those things, but there's other elements and other levels as well.
I find it really fascinating. I've got an Ayurvedic cookbook, and it's amazing to me and it makes perfect sense, is the food that you eat when you need the warming food and the cooling food, and that I think that's quite amazing. And yes, I did a yoga course, and the instructor was an Ayurvedic cook, and so she would nourish you with a meal after each class. It was just
that's lovely. That personal touch.
Yeah, it was really, really special. So, Julie, do you have a mantra or a quote or a word of the year that you live by?
A mantra or a quote? Last time we spoke, I talked about how meditation is the key and the importance of meditation, but I'm going to add action to that this year. So meditation and action, that combination is my mantra at the moment.
Brilliant. I love that. So tell me about meditation and where that fits in with your life. Is it a daily practice? Is it something that you do where you listen to something to meditate, or how does it work for you?
So meditation for me is a daily practice. It's practice every morning upon waking, before the mind has a chance to start thinking and speaking. So it's catching that mind before that starts happening and distracting us. So there's no outside distractions, no incenses or music or any of those things. They can be a guide, but ultimately my practice is very simple. It's just hopping out of bed. If you're struggling, you can sit in bed, but as soon as that consciousness awakens, just straight into meditation with a straight back, and just see where you go. Start with 5 minutes, extend to 20 minutes. It's a start.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. I love the fact that it's before your brain kicks in, or your mind, more to the point, and that busyness that takes you through the day. That's wonderful.
Yeah, they call it the monkey mind, but it has to do with being the master of your mind, and the mind not being your master.
Oh, I love that. And I hadn't heard of the monkey mind, but I love that you've just said you being the master of it, not it being the master of you.
Yes.
Wow. That's good. So what are the things that you would never do in a million years to stop doing, no matter what? Like, what would you never stop? Would it be, for example, meditation?
Oh, absolutely. But it would be cooking. Yeah, I love cooking. It's a meditative practice for me. Everyone needs something to inspire them or bring them back when they might not be feeling their best.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can identify or get assistance to identify what that might be, then it's a beautiful practice, cooking for me.
What about when you're really busy? Because I actually really enjoy cooking too, but sometimes it just feels like a chore. It's like,
of course.
Maybe in your business, or maybe in your life, because it's so much a part of your business, that you have a different feel about it. Like, what happens for you on the days where you just don't feel like it? Or do you never have those days?
No, I do. I get very busy, and I do feel like that sometimes. And so I give myself a break. I allow my partner to cook. If we both feel that way, then we get takeaway. just like anyone else, but we know what choices, are good for us. We make good choices. We do the best we can because nothing is perfect all the time.
That's right. And where we live, we don't have delivery. So, and also not that much takeaway either. So
we pre-cook. So I might make something that I'll have sitting in the fridge. We can't have it in there too long, maybe 2 days. You're really pushing it for 3. But just to have that backup. And I find what happens naturally for me in this process of creation and inspiration is I'll feel to do that, not knowing that the next 2 days is going to get really busy.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's kind of like a supportive bonus I get with doing this work.
And what would you, for yourself, what would you recommend? Sorry, what I mean is, what do you do for yourself that you would recommend for others that when they need a night off and they want to take away? What kind of a takeaway would you recommend? It clearly wouldn't be a Big Mac.
No, just something that you really enjoy and you feel like eating. That's, the best choice that you can make. I might get a really high quality pizza. I might get a little bit of Indian takeaway, but it's not very often. So, yeah, I prefer to pre-cook. So, yeah, I don't get a great deal of takeaway, to be honest. And when I'm really busy.
Yeah, my husband was just reminding me about when we lived in Sydney, which is a long time ago. We've been up here 21 years, so it was before that. And he was just saying there were so many different options that you could get, very short space of distance or short distance, and you could have some amazing Thai or some amazing Indian or whatever. But up here where we are, there's definitely not that many options for a takeout. But we're like you, we always have extra on layaway. So yeah,
you've just got to have your 1 or 2 go-tos that you have that aren't going to be terribly bad for you.
Yes.
And maybe just have that little bit of self-discipline to just have a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe combine it with something you've already got at home, like a salad.
Yes.
So, for example, my partner might have a bit more than me, and then I'll just have the smallest amount because I know it's not the best thing for me to be having, and then have it with something else that I've got at home.
Wonderful. That's a great tip. I love it. So what would you tell other women in business who are just starting out? What would you like them to know that you wish you'd known at the beginning of your journey?
Wow. I think I would have liked to have known a few more things that would have allowed me to be more methodical and step by step. Yeah, probably some guidance around that. Just not having to learn too much on your own. Just find the right person who can help you get started and focus on one thing at a time. Because it can get quite overwhelming. You have to go step by step. Too much information can sort of cloud that clarity around what you're doing and why you're doing it. So, yeah, slowly, step by step, methodical, and just be very grounded and centered in what you're doing. Have an intention and focus just on that one thing. And then you can weave in the other things as you go. So what do you really want to do? It requires that research. Is that what the people want? You can have lots of ideas, but you have to decide on one and be business-like, professional, and methodical in the way that you do it.
I just think that's such a wonderful tip, because I feel, particularly in my line of business, people come on a discovery call with me or something and they just say, I am completely overwhelmed by all the things I have to do. And you can be pretty sure every time without fail, there's no plan, there's no business plan, there's no strategy in place for what they're wanting to achieve. They just know, I've got to do all the social media, I've got to do all the website, I've got to do all of this, as well as I've got to run my business. I've got to find customers or clients. And it just seems super, super massive. So I love that you said, take your time, do it methodically, put steps in place, and, you know, not try and do it all at once, because yes, that can be incredibly overwhelming. And then I'm sure very quickly you can lose your love for what you're doing, because you feel quite swamped by all the other things that you need to do.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, if you do it that way, the right people will come in at the right time. So you just have to have some trust in what you're doing, if it's the right thing that you're doing.
I also happen. Yes. And I also love that you said about bringing the right, you know, surrounding yourself with the right people, because I'm, you know, as a coach myself, I'm a big believer that every coach needs a coach. So we always want to be learning a bit more from someone who knows that bit more than we do in a particular area. So constantly upskilling, etc., but going on a journey with it. So surrounding yourself with people that you're inspired to learn from, I think is so important. So yeah, I love that was your top tip. Thank you for that. And so what about a tip for people from, not necessarily about business, but about people wanting to get their health on track? As what would be the thing that they would do first? Is it similar to what you said about business, that you would do it slowly and you would think about what you wanted to do and what you wanted to achieve?
Exactly. It's committing to a practitioner. That is the key. If you can commit, they can guide you step by step. If you have all the diversions and distractions, then the road is longer, unfortunately.
I bet you have a lot of people that come to you and say, I've been everywhere, I've tried everything, and here I am. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it does happen. And that's why I've created a program. It's in development at the moment. It's a 90-day program because there's people who want to understand why they're doing what they're doing. So in the program, it will give you the video recipes, and it teaches you the system of Ayurveda. So it teaches you about the systems in the body, something new you might not have heard of, the 3 gunas, the 6 tastes and how that relates to food. So, and you get an individualized plan, and we guide you for 90 days. But you're understanding Ayurveda as you go along as well. Not too much, not overwhelmingly, but enough to understand why you're following the diet and lifestyle advice that you're being given and guided.
Julie, I'm blown away. So you've got 2 books in the pipeline, one that's just about to launch. You've got a whole program under development at the moment also. And, you know, you're running your business at the same time, doing all the things, and you're getting your meditation done every morning as well. And you love to cook. So you're an amazing, amazing woman. Very, very inspiring.
I do my best.
You sure do. That's incredible. So thank you so much for chatting with me today. I can't wait to see your first book come out. That's super exciting. And I'm also going to have a little think more about this first meditation in the morning, because it's generally not when I do mine, but I'm thinking that would be worth a try, because it made perfect sense, exactly what you just said. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It's just a pleasure and a privilege to have you with us in the huddle. We really appreciate you being here. And we're going to be sharing the best way that people can be connecting with you in the caption. And then, of course, they can be finding out more about what it is that you're offering. And particularly when those new things arrive and launch, et cetera, et cetera. So congratulations to you, Julie. Amazing stuff. You're a very inspiring woman. And
thank you, Kylie. And give that meditation a go.
I really look forward to that already. Well, thank you so much. It was awesome. And I look forward to catching up with you really soon.
Okay, Kylie.
And Julie from the Food Doctor. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks so much.